What happens when Millie Bobby Brown sits across from Sunny Hostin on The View, and a simple conversation suddenly turns into one of the most uncomfortable live TV moments no one expected. Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. So the segment starts off pretty light, the usual energy. The audience is clapping, the hosts are smiling, and Millie walks out, waving, looking relaxed but a little reserved. She sits down, adjusts her dress slightly, and you can tell she's ready, but also cautious. Sunny leans in first with a warm smile. "Millie, it's so good to have you here. You've grown up right in front of everyone watching." Millie smiles politely, nodding. "Yeah, it's been a journey for sure." There's a bit of laughter from the audience, soft, supportive. Another host jumps in. "And you're producing now, right? That's a big shift." Millie nods again, a little more confident. "Yeah, I've been working behind the scenes a lot more. I think it's important to have a voice in what you're creating." Everything feels normal, smooth, controlled. Sunny tilts her head slightly, still smiling but shifting tone just a bit. And having that voice, especially as someone who's been in the industry since you were so young, do you feel like you were always heard? Or were there times when people spoke for you? Millie pauses. Not long, but just enough for the shift to be noticeable. "I mean, yeah, there were definitely times where I didn't have control," she says carefully. "But I think that's part of growing up in any environment." Sunny nods slowly, but she doesn't let it go. But this isn't just any environment. This is Hollywood. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations placed on young women. The audience quiets slightly. Millie gives a small smile, but it's tighter now. "Of course, yeah. There's pressure. But I've always had a really strong support system." Another host tries to lighten it a bit. "Your family's been very involved, right?" Millie quickly nods, almost relieved at the shift. "Yeah, they've been amazing." But Sunny leans back in, crossing her legs, her tone becoming more pointed, still calm but firmer. "Some critics would say that support systems can sometimes also be controlling. Do you think you were ever managed too closely?" There's a noticeable reaction from the audience, some murmurs, a few oohs. Millie's smile drops just slightly. "Not fully, but enough. I don't really see it that way," she says. "I think people around me always wanted what was best for me." Sunny doesn't back off. But wanting what's best and actually allowing someone independence, those are two different things. There's a brief silence. Millie shifts in her seat. You can see her fingers tighten slightly in her lap. "I think," she starts, choosing her words carefully, "that everyone's experience is different. And mine, while not perfect, was still mine." The audience gives a small round of applause, sensing the tension but appreciating her composure. One of the other hosts jumps in quickly. "That's a great way to put it." But Sunny isn't done. She leans forward again, her voice softer now, but more direct. "Do you ever feel like people protected you or controlled your narrative?" Millie exhales lightly through her nose, almost like she's steadying herself. "I think," she says slowly, "people often assume a lot about my life without actually knowing me." There's a subtle shift in her tone now, less defensive, more firm. Sunny raises an eyebrow slightly. "Well, that's part of being in the public eye, right? People are going to question." Millie nods once. "Yeah, but questioning and assuming aren't the same thing." The audience reacts again, this time louder. A few claps, a few sounds. Sunny smiles, but it's not as warm now. "So you feel misunderstood?" Millie looks straight at her. "I feel like sometimes people talk about me instead of to me." That line lands. You can feel it. There's a brief pause, and even the other hosts seem unsure whether to jump in or let it play out. Sunny tilts her head again. "Well, we're talking to you now." Millie nods, but her expression doesn't soften. "Yeah, and I appreciate that. But I also think it's important how those conversations happen." The audience goes quiet again. One of the hosts tries to redirect. "Let's talk about your new project." But Sunny gently raises her hand, cutting in. "Just one more thing," she says, eyes still on Millie. You can feel the tension building now. It's no longer subtle. "Do you think," Sunny continues, "that young stars today are given too much power too soon? Especially when they're still figuring themselves out." There's a collective reaction from the audience, some gasps, some whispers. Millie blinks, clearly caught off guard by the direction of the question. "I don't think it's about too much power," she replies, her voice steadier than before. "I think it's about opportunity." Sunny leans back slightly, folding her arms. Opportunity without experience can be dangerous. Millie doesn't hesitate this time. So can limiting someone because of their age. That gets a louder reaction, applause, a few cheers. The energy in the room has completely shifted now. What started as a friendly interview is clearly turning into something else. Sunny gives a small smile, but there's tension behind it. No one's limiting you, Millie. Millie looks at her, calm but direct. It kind of feels like that's what's being suggested. The audience reacts again, this time louder, more divided. Some clap. Some murmur. Another host quickly jumps in, laughing nervously. Okay, we're getting into it now. But the moment has already changed. Millie sits back slightly, her posture more guarded now. Sunny adjusts in her seat, clearly aware of the tension, but not backing away from it. And just like that, the conversation has crossed a line, from interview into confrontation. The energy doesn't settle after that moment, it lingers. You can actually feel it in the room. Millie shifts slightly in her chair, crossing her legs the other way, her posture more upright now, like she's bracing herself. Sunny sits back too, but her expression stays focused, like she's not finished making her point. One of the co-hosts lets out a small laugh, trying to ease things. This is why live TV is unpredictable, she says, smiling at the audience. There's some light laughter, but it's nervous. Millie gives a polite smile, but she doesn't fully relax. Sunny jumps back in, her tone calmer now, but still pointed. I think what people are reacting to, Millie, is not you personally, but what you represent. A generation that's stepping into major influence very early. Millie nods slowly, but she doesn't agree outright. I understand that perspective, she says. But I don't think influence should be treated like it's something negative just because it comes earlier. Sunny tilts her head. It's not negative, it's just powerful. And power needs accountability. Millie leans forward slightly this time, engaging more directly. Absolutely. But accountability should be based on actions, not assumptions about age. The audience reacts again, this time a bit louder. There's clapping, but also a few scattered murmurs. Another host jumps in quickly. I think what Sunny's trying to say is... Sunny raises her hand slightly, cutting her off, but still smiling. No, I can say it, she says. Then she looks back at Millie. Do you think you've ever been shielded from criticism because of how young you were when you started? Millie doesn't answer immediately this time. She takes a breath, glances briefly at the audience, then back at Sunny. I don't think anyone in the public eye is shielded from criticism, she says. If anything, I think I've faced more because people watched me grow up. There's a soft yeah from somewhere in the audience. Sunny nods slowly, but then leans in again. But there's also a level of protection that comes with being seen as the kid. And now you're not that anymore. So do you think the expectations are changing? Millie's expression tightens just a little. Of course they are. That's normal. Sunny presses. And are you ready for that? That question lands harder than the others. There's a pause. A longer one this time. Millie's smile fades completely, replaced by something more serious. I've been ready, she says quietly. The audience reacts, some applause, but it's mixed with that same tension that hasn't left the room. One of the co-hosts leans in, trying again to smooth things over. I think what's interesting is how you've handled that transition, because it's not easy. Millie nods toward her, grateful for the shift. It's not, and I think people sometimes forget that we're still figuring things out while being watched by millions of people. Sunny nods too, but she doesn't let the moment pass without adding something. But that visibility also comes with responsibility. Millie turns back to her. It does, but responsibility doesn't mean perfection. The audience claps again, stronger this time. Sunny gives a small smile. No one's asking for perfection. Millie responds immediately. It feels like they are sometimes. That line gets a louder reaction. Some applause, a few that's right, comments from the audience. Sunny's expression shifts slightly. Not defensive, but more serious now. Who is they? She asks. Millie hesitates for a split second. The public. The media. Sometimes even conversations like this. There's an audible reaction, gasps, a few surprised laughs. Sunny blinks, clearly caught off guard for the first time. Conversations like this? She repeats. Millie nods, staying calm but firm. Yeah, when the focus becomes more about questioning someone's ability to handle their own life instead of actually listening to what they're saying. The audience reacts again, this time louder and more divided than before. Some clap immediately. Others murmur. One of the co-hosts quickly leans forward, trying to balance things. I think it's also about understanding, like, we're trying to understand your perspective. Millie nods toward her. And I appreciate that. I really do. Then she looks back at Sunny. But it has to go both ways. There's a pause. Sunny takes a breath, sitting back slightly. You can tell she's choosing her next words more carefully now. I hear you, she says. But part of our job here is to ask difficult questions. Millie nods. And part of mine is to answer them honestly. That gets a strong round of applause. The tension hasn't gone away, but now it feels more controlled, more direct. Sunny crosses her legs again, her tone shifting just a little softer. So let me ask you this then. What do you wish people understood about you that they don't? That question changes the energy, just slightly. Millie exhales, her shoulders relaxing just a bit. I wish people understood that I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone, she says. I'm just trying to grow like everyone else. The audience quiets, listening closely now. And I think, she continues, when you grow up in front of people, they expect you to stay the same person they first saw. And when you don't, it becomes uncomfortable for them. There's a soft wave of agreement in the audience. Sunny nods slowly. That's fair. But then she adds, but growth also means being open to criticism. Millie doesn't push back immediately this time. I agree, she says. But criticism should come from a place of understanding, not assumption. Sunny looks at her for a moment, studying her expression. And you don't think that's happening? She asks. Millie shakes her head slightly. Not always. There's a pause. You can feel the shift again, this time less explosive but more layered. Another host finally jumps in with a more upbeat tone. Okay, let's talk about something exciting, your new film. The audience laughs lightly, almost relieved. Millie smiles again, this time more genuine. Yes, please, she says, half joking. But just as the conversation starts to pivot, Sunny adds one more comment, almost casually, but it lands heavy. I just hope, she says, that as you grow, you stay open to hearing perspectives that challenge you. Millie turns back to her, her smile fading just slightly again. I am open, she says. I just don't think being challenged should feel like being doubted. And that line, that's the one that really sticks. The audience reacts louder than before, applause, a few standing reactions, but also visible tension among others. The hosts exchange quick glances. Because now it's no longer just a discussion. It's personal. The applause lingers a little longer this time, but it's not the kind of applause that wraps things up. It's the kind that hangs in the air, like people aren't sure what's coming next. Millie sits back, her hands now resting more firmly in her lap, her expression calm but guarded. Sunny doesn't jump in right away this time. She watches Millie for a second, almost like she's deciding whether to keep pushing or let it breathe. One of the co-hosts finally steps in, her voice a little brighter than before. I think what's really interesting here is that we're seeing two perspectives that actually matter, experience and evolution. There's a bit of applause at that, some people nodding in the audience. Millie gives a small smile, acknowledging it. Yeah, I think both can exist at the same time. Sunny nods too, but then she leans forward again, not aggressively, but with purpose. They can, she says. But sometimes they clash. And when they do, it reveals things people might not want to hear. Millie looks at her, steady. Or things people aren't ready to hear. There's another reaction, quieter this time, but still present. Sunny raises her eyebrows slightly. That's an interesting way to put it. Millie shrugs lightly. It's just honest. There's a brief silence. You can feel the tension again, not sharp like before, but heavier, more layered. Like both of them are now fully aware of the line they're walking. Another host leans in, trying to bring in a different angle. Millie, you've spoken before about setting boundaries. Do you feel like those boundaries are respected in interviews like this? The question lands carefully, but it still hits. Millie takes a second before answering. She glances down briefly, then back up. I think sometimes they are, she says. And sometimes they're tested. The audience reacts, soft murmurs, a few claps. Sunny nods slowly. But isn't that part of the job? Being asked things that might be uncomfortable. Millie doesn't hesitate this time. There's a difference between uncomfortable and unnecessary. That gets a stronger reaction, applause, a few audible yes comments. Sunny leans back, crossing her arms again. Not defensive, but clearly engaged. And who decides what's unnecessary? Millie meets her gaze directly. I think the person being asked should have a say in that. There's a pause. One of the co-hosts lets out a small breath, half laughing. Okay, we're definitely having a real conversation today. The audience laughs lightly, but the tension doesn't fully break. Sunny tilts her head again, her tone now more analytical. But if public figures start deciding which questions are acceptable, doesn't that limit honest dialogue? Millie shakes her head slightly. No, I think it creates respectful dialogue. Sunny responds quickly. But respect can sometimes be subjective. Millie nods. So can what people think is fair game? That line lands hard. The audience reacts again, louder this time, more engaged. There's a visible shift among the hosts now. They're exchanging glances more frequently, like they're trying to balance letting the moment unfold without letting it spiral. Another host finally jumps in, trying to redirect the tone. Let's bring it back to your work for a second, because you've been very vocal about having more control creatively. Millie nods, taking the opening. Yeah, that's been really important to me. She starts to relax slightly as she talks about it. Being able to tell stories that I care about, that feel real to me. It's something I didn't always have when I was younger. The audience listens, calmer now. But even that, she continues, comes with people questioning whether you're ready or experienced enough. And that's kind of what we were just talking about. Sunny watches her closely. So you feel like your credibility is being questioned? Millie doesn't sugarcoat it. Sometimes, yeah. Sunny leans in. Even here. There it is again. The audience reacts immediately, gasps a few whoa comments. Millie pauses. This is the longest pause so far. She looks at Sunny, then briefly at the other hosts, then back again. I think, she says slowly, this conversation started from a place of curiosity, but it's felt a little like something else at times. The audience reacts loudly now, applause mixed with surprised murmurs. Sunny sits back slightly, her expression tightening just a bit. Something else. Millie nods. Yeah. Sunny presses, like what? Millie exhales, choosing her words carefully. But this time, there's less hesitation. Like I have something to prove, she says. The room goes quiet. Not completely silent, but close. Sunny responds almost immediately. Don't you think everyone in your position has something to prove? Millie shakes her head. No. I think people in my position are constantly being told they do. That line hits even harder than the last. The audience reacts, loud applause, some people visibly nodding, others whispering. One of the co-hosts tries to step in again, her voice a little more urgent now. I think what Millie's saying is, there's a pressure that comes with perception. But Sunny cuts in, not raising her voice but firm. And I'm saying that pressure exists for a reason. Millie turns to her immediately. What reason? Sunny doesn't hesitate. Because influence affects people. Especially younger audiences who look up to you. Millie nods. And that's something I take seriously. Sunny responds. Then shouldn't that come with tougher questions? Millie leans forward slightly. Tough questions are fine. But there's a difference between asking tough questions and questioning someone's capability altogether. The audience reacts again, strong applause. Sunny looks at her, holding eye contact. I don't think I questioned your capability. Millie responds calmly but firmly. It felt like you did. There's a pause. A real one this time. Even the audience seems unsure how to react. Sunny finally exhales, looking briefly away before turning back. That wasn't my intention. Millie nods. I understand that. Another pause. And for the first time, the energy shifts, not into tension, but into something more reflective. One of the co-hosts quietly says, I think this is actually an important moment. The audience claps, softer, but more unified. Millie sits back again, her posture easing just a little. Sunny uncrosses her arms, resting her hands on the table. There's a sense that they've reached the peak of something. But it's not over yet. There's a noticeable shift after that moment. Not the kind that resets everything back to normal, but the kind where everyone in the room knows something real just happened, and now they have to sit with it. Millie exhales quietly, her shoulders dropping just a little, like she's finally allowing herself to come down from that tense edge. Sunny adjusts in her seat, her expression softer now, less confrontational, more reflective. One of the co-hosts smiles gently, looking between them. I think this is what live television is supposed to be, she says. Honest, even when it's uncomfortable. The audience claps, this time more evenly, less divided. Sunny nods slowly. I agree, she says. Then she turns to Millie. And I want to say, I respect the fact that you didn't just give easy answers. Millie gives a small smile. I don't think I know how to do that. There's a bit of laughter, lightening the mood just slightly. Sunny continues, her tone more measured now. And I also hear what you said, about how it felt. That matters. Millie nods, appreciative but still composed. Thank you. There's a brief pause, this time not tense, just quiet. Another host leans in, clearly trying to help bring things back to a more balanced space. I think what people are going to take from this is that conversations like this, while tough, are important. Because they show both sides. The audience murmurs in agreement. Millie glances toward the audience for a moment, then back to the table. I think it's important to have conversations where people actually listen, she says. Not just respond. Sunny gives a small nod. That's fair. And for a second, it feels like they've reached some kind of understanding. But the energy in the room hasn't fully settled. It's calmer, but still charged in a different way. Like everyone is aware that this moment is going to live far beyond this studio. One of the co-hosts finally pivots back. Before we wrap up, let's talk about what's next for you, she says, smiling at Millie. Millie smiles too, this time more relaxed than before. I've got a few projects coming up. Producing more, acting, just trying to tell stories that feel real. The audience claps again, supportive. And hopefully, she adds, with a slight glance toward Sunny, doing it on my own terms. There's a small reaction, some laughter, some applause. Sunny catches it, smiles slightly. As you should, she says. That line gets a warm response from the audience. For a moment, it feels like closure. The conversation softens. They exchange a few lighter comments, quick mentions of upcoming work, a brief laugh about behind-the-scenes moments, the kind of small talk that usually wraps segments like this. But even in those lighter beats, there's still an undercurrent of what just happened. As the segment comes to an end, one of the hosts turns to the camera. We'll be right back, she says, smiling. The audience applauds as the show goes to break. But the cameras don't cut immediately. There's that in-between moment. When the music plays softly, the audience is still clapping, and the hosts shift in their seats. Millie leans slightly toward Sunny, saying something off mic. Sunny nods, responding quietly. Whatever is said isn't audible, but the body language is calmer, more mutual. No dramatic gestures. No visible hostility. Just a conversation continuing without the microphones. And that alone says a lot. After the show wraps, the moment doesn't stay in the studio. Clips from The View start circulating almost immediately online. Short segments. Close-up reactions. That one line, "It felt like you did," gets shared over and over again. Within hours, social media is flooded with opinions. Some people are praising Millie Bobby Brown for staying calm and standing her ground. Others are defending Sunny Hostin, saying she was doing exactly what a host is supposed to do, ask difficult questions. Clips start trending. Reaction videos pop up. Comment sections fill with debates. Some viewers say it was uncomfortable to watch. Others say it was the most real moment the show has had in a long time. There are even split-screen edits showing the exact moment the tone changed, when the conversation shifted from interview to confrontation, and then to something more reflective. By the evening, headlines begin to appear, some framing it as a clash, others calling it a powerful exchange. Backstage reports start surfacing too. Nothing dramatic, no shouting, no arguments after the cameras stopped. In fact, sources say both Millie and Sunny spoke briefly after the segment, clearing the air. Professional, respectful, but still aware of what had just happened. The next day, clips from the episode are played again during recap segments. The hosts discuss it, lightly, carefully. Sunny even addresses it briefly, saying, "It was a conversation worth having." And Millie? She doesn't respond publicly right away, which in itself keeps the conversation going. Because now people are watching, waiting, analyzing every detail. And that's the thing about moments like this on live television. They don't end when the segment ends. They carry on. Through clips. Through comments. Through conversations happening everywhere else. Back in the studio, though, it all started with a simple interview. A few questions. A few answers. And then something real broke through. Not perfect. Not polished. Just real. And that's what people remember. So what do you think? Was Millie Bobby Brown right to push back? Or was Sunny Hostin just doing her job as a host on The View? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.